Everyone is coming out against GAYTON McKENZIE all of a sudden. Why out of the blue? What's going on? Is it because of the surfing competition in Jeffreys Bay? Is it his stance on Israel and Palestine? Is it the fact that he's not calling out Cyril and seems to be protecting him? Is it because he's not loud enough on foreigners anymore? What's going on? Is there a paid campaign out against GAYTON McKENZIE? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the On the Country podcast.
Am I allowed to swear in here?
Let's swear, bro.
Yeah, I know we said let's not blame the government.
It's just sad when we start then becoming indoctrinated. Your view on me.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the On the Country podcast with Emilio, Tobias, and I'm Emilio, Tobias. Today's episode is quite interesting because I've been noticing, yes, there's ups and downs of people being against GAYTON McKENZIE, good stories, bad stories. We had the story with the K word in the middle of last year. But people like Penuel and other influencers who previously were for GAYTON McKENZIE are coming out vehemently speaking against his politics and how things have gone over the past year. And there's been a State of the Nation, I think it's the first full one where people have been in office since the last one, the first full year in office that people can report back on and see what they've done. And what has happened is, since GAYTON McKENZIE has gotten in office, he seemed to be not being such a big voice of opposition, especially in the public sphere, and people have found big issue with that. And for me, I think just off the bat, I accept his explanation or in response to people's complaints that, like, bruh, why are you a cheerleader for Cyril? Bruh, why aren't you speaking out against Abehambe and all these things as loudly as you were before? I accept his explanation that, yo, bruh, when I'm sitting at the table and when I'm actually in government, I don't have to protest on the street. I don't have to come and hand over a memorandum to the people who are sitting at the table. I'm literally at the table and voicing what I was voicing outside. So what's the use of me running around at borders? If that's your reason for voting for GAYTON anyway, his stance on illegal foreigners. Like, why would I make the noise the same way if I'm sitting at the table? And I think maybe people just don't know how government works, or people just love opposition and don't see collaboration as a means to reach their goal. I think we're in the game of opposition politics, and I think even as when you think about it, like, politics just seems like, or at least political campaigns are about fighting. It's about opposition. Even as a ruling party, you must think about it. ANC as a ruling party is also campaigning from a point of being an underdog. The campaigns also position them as underdog, and they would constantly, whether rightfully or wrongly so, constantly position themselves as the underdogs fighting against white monopoly capital, fighting against the systems of apartheid and colonialism, making themselves the smaller guy. That's why people still vote for the ANC, because ANC is still not seen as the one in power. At least that's how they claim to Ghana vote, or at least that's their campaign positioning. Same like with other parties. DA also, their claim is ANC is in power, we're a small party, and we're the last means to get there. EFF the same. Like, every single political party, including the PA, is fighting from a point of, we are the ones who are not heard, we are the ones that are not spoken of, so we are going to fight for that. So now, my thing is, even people are complaining about the GNU. Why would you not, as a smaller party, any party other than the ANC, why would you not see that as a win for your voice? Guys, I've been in rooms where you have to decide as a team where we're going to have our charity outreach. And in those rooms, there's one type of person Let's say everyone in the room is black, which is fine. And they'll name like, this area needs some upliftment, that area needs upliftment, that area needs upliftment. Sometimes if I was not in that room, and the people who know, sometimes there needs to be a different person in the room to say like, yo guys, those black areas that you've just mentioned, there are colored areas in between there that are suffering just as badly. So let's not make the a colored community the main beneficiary, but just include them as well. That's what happens around those tables. And what happens around those tables, it's literally this thing of research and doing studies and whatever. Yes, it happens, but it's not the biggest driver. It's about you and your personal experience. A lot of the times, you're busy thinking of schools to go and empower. And the schools that people think of is schools from their neighborhoods. It's schools they've heard of. It's schools that they went to. So if everyone around the table, if you look at now PA, they're around the table now, and their constituency is colored people. They might want to position themselves as a party for all, and that's all good and well. But I think their priority, and I think it should be, bringing the colored plight forward, because I think everyone else is pretty well represented in government. So if you are now at the table and saying, yo guys, we need to upgrade sports facilities in villages, townships in South Africa. If the PA was not in that portfolio, I can bet you any upgrades or most upgrades would have gone to a certain type of community if it was not a colored person in position. And I think GAYTON and his team have at least said, yes, let's do all these things that we've been doing in black communities, but let's not forget there are colored communities. And it's easy if you're not exposed, you've never been to a colored community, you've only ever seen it from across the street or across the pond, where you think people are living better there just because they're not, they refuse to see themselves as victims. So I think just on that front of expecting any politician, even expecting the DA now, which they are doing, and I think it's such a dumb thing, expecting the DA to speak out as loudly as they did before is crazy. Because my man, you are now in charge of doing the work. So you would expect. And obviously when you're in there, there are compromises that are happening. But at least your voice at the table, and you can influence certain policies. And apparently there's a cabinet meeting every Wednesday, where I guess people come and give reports. What did you do last week? What did you get done last week? What are you doing next week? We're tabling this. This is about to happen. And people get to say they say. So now if you want him to protest there at the table, like people, I don't think people know what the government is supposed to do. Like the other day, people had an issue with Gwede Mantashe. With Gwede Mantashe saying the reason why one of the problems in people finding jobs is people are too lazy to look for jobs. Yes, maybe some of them are despondent. Maybe some of them have... But guys, we all know the people in our families, or we all know ourselves. Sometimes we're just not in the mood. Like, the people who are making it are people who are hyper motivated. And a lot of us are just unemployable. There's jobs there, guys. Vacancies are everywhere. And a lot of companies have so many vacancies that they're not filling for whatever reason. Because it's so difficult to hire someone new that's going to come and disrupt, and now you have to handhold. That's some of who we are. Some of us are just not that employable. And sometimes we need to just look at ourselves a little bit. Blame yourself just a little bit more than you blame the government for your situation. And then it might change. Guys, like, it's not government's job to create jobs. And being hired by government is not solving unemployment. Government hires a lot of people, but that's not alleviating unemployment. Government's job is to create conditions through policy, create conditions so that the private sector, the ones who are actually hiring people, to make it easier for them to hire more people, to make it easier for them to grow, to make it easier for people to live their lives freely. Government intervention should look like no intervention. Everything should just run smoothly. The problem with our government is, which is where we get it wrong, is that it's run badly. So badly that it's taking away opportunities. Government is not there to give, say, we're creating jobs. No. Government is not there to do that. Government literally is there to create an environment that jobs can be created. But it's also their fault, the political party's fault, for promising these things as if they're going to be directly creating jobs for people. Yeah, bruh, you can do an internship of 6,000 kids. That's not even 5% of the new matriculants or the new graduates out of university for a single year. So you create 6,000 internships. And next year and the year after, that's not doing nothing. Government's not going to create jobs for you all. And the jobs are going to go to the people who want it the most. The jobs are going to go to the people who want it the most. And for those of us who get lucky with an internship here and there, when that internship is over, a lot of us are still not employable because you messed up the opportunity of the internship as an entitled person of that job. But anyway, where was I? Why are people, do you know, I've even seen my friends, which start to make me wonder, like, hey man, is DA paying these people to speak badly and push all these negative stories about GAYTON McKENZIE? When I performed at the J-Bay Festival last year, so I'm actually very hurt that it's not happening this year because it would be nice to go again. But when it came out that the World Surfing Organization, whatever they call, decided they're not going to come to Jeffreys Bay for this other reason, it was quick to come out that it was GAYTON McKENZIE and the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture's fault for that. Very quick. And I'm like, people are posting this so much, and I even wanted to comment, but then I'm like, hey man, it's my friend, and there's no need for us to squabble over politics. And I can see his clear dislike for GAYTON McKENZIE. I don't know what GAYTON McKENZIE did for him, but I'm also thinking, nah, this guy is on DA's payroll. It then comes out, and now it's quiet, that actually the DA-led municipality there has been doing stuff behind the department's back, thinking they can secure it on their own, having backdoor meetings with the organization, and those are the things that make the organization say, hey man, this seems, we can skip it this year. They were supposed to apply for certain permits or certain permissions or certain supports from the department to say that they're expecting or they are bidding, because I think you bid every year for an international event to take place, and normally the department would just, whoever was in the department would just let it happen and facilitate whatever needed to be facilitated, and then boom, they lost it quickly. They blamed GAYTON. Everyone jumped on board without knowing the full story. These people never did what they were supposed to. They thought they could do it on their own. They thought they had a country on their own, the municipality of Jeffreys Bay. Guys, why is everyone against GAYTON? Of these things are so solvable. GAYTON, on the other hand, another reason that makes me think DA is actively campaigning against this guy. And in an unfair, using fake news and misinformation and disinformation for these things, GAYTON just recently recruited the mayor and the acting mayor and whoever else in the top political positions in Saldanha. It's like 3 big DA white people from Saldanha came over to PA. So I have a feeling they might have had insight that, because this is GAYTON's modus operandi. GAYTON and them, they poach people from, they've done it in El Dorado Park, because PA has been around for long and they haven't been doing well for a long time. They're starting to do well now. But the strategy that seems to have been working for them is to poach well-meaning, I think, DA members who believed DA's promises for looking out for colored people. That's why there's still so many colored people voting for DA. And then PA comes along and says, hey man, you've been in this party for so long. The colored community is still in the same position. You, whose heart is in the right place, come to this party where you're going to be free to do what you want to do for colored people. And let it be known, the DA needs colored people. The DA's voter base is more colored than it is white, especially in Cape Town. So PA is breaking away at all these things. And all these colored people that are still in the DA, I've never voted for PA, by the way. I'm also not against it. I've never voted for DA. I'm not likely to vote for DA. I'm more likely to vote for PA, I think. But in case you think I'm biased or I'm paid for whatever, that's my view on these two parties. DA knows that PA is their biggest threat. The biggest population in Cape Town or in the Western Cape are colored people. And here, for the first time, is a strong colored party that can't be bought the way Patricia de Lille was bought once upon a time. Patricia de Lille had her own party also, and I think it got some traction. And then she merged that party with the DA, and then they made her a mayor, and whatever the case might be, and then things didn't work out and she left again. I think that's why colored people also don't see Patricia de Lille as a colored auntie. She's just another politician. So, is DA fighting this misinformation battle because GAYTON and them are doing stuff like recruiting their top guys? And I think the people who vote for PA, and I don't mean this in a bad way, are not the ones that are running after this information. Are not the ones that's just going to believe any story about GAYTON McKENZIE, interestingly. Now, another reason why people are complaining about GAYTON is his stance on Israel and Palestine. And as much as I believe GAYTON's stance on Israel and Palestine is not my stance, I don't think he's wrong because he's different to what I think is the correct position on this thing. I think he's wrong because his reasoning is wrong. GAYTON obviously feels he sides with Israel. And he says it's because the Bible said you mustn't turn your back on Israel. And that's all fair and good. But I would hope someone maybe in a non-confrontational, nice speaking manner to even approach the guy in a manner to show him like, yo, we're not fighting. But I understand your reason for supporting Israel, if that's your reason. But your reason is fundamentally wrong. At least if you said, that's my stance, whatever, I think this and that. And yes, there's now the nuance here and there where Hamas kidnapped people and then whatever retaliated immediately. Israel could have fought for that week and try to get everyone and then settle down after that. But it's the overkill. It's the overkill that's the issue with Israel. And yes, of course, for those of us who don't realize why Nelson Mandela went to jail is because the ANC and Ahmad Kathrada, Walter Sisulu, Mandela and them, all of them were about to retaliate violently to the oppressors. They were about to become an Hamas, freedom fighters. And that's what we must realize, that the ANC was about to do that with the military wing, Umkhonto we Sizwe. Because after a while of being oppressed and trying peaceful means for so many years, at some point you're going to have to resort to the other thing. That's that. But let's get back to GAYTON's reasoning. Now that you maybe have a better understanding of my position on the thing, if at all. GAYTON says, the Bible says, don't turn your back on Israel. But the thing that you must realize, the Israel that the Bible is talking about is not the state of Israel. The Israel the Bible is talking about is not the state of Israel. Nicely, non-confrontationally, to GAYTON McKENZIE, to maybe re-evaluate his position, is that there's a difference between an Israeli and an Israelite. Israelites are spoken about in, I guess, the Torah and in the Bible. Israelis belong to the state of Israel, which is a government, which is which is an entity. It's not a nation. And here's what I believe, especially as the rest of the Bible and Judaism and Israel. Jesus' message came along because Judaism is a very exclusive club, whereas Christianity is a very inclusive club, where Jesus came and said basically, yes, don't throw away the teachings of the Jewish faith. That is still who we are. But it's not an exclusive club. Yes, they are God's chosen people. But it doesn't mean if you come from here, there, and there, you are not God's chosen people. You are God's chosen people wherever you come from. And you can come from anywhere. And you can serve Him anywhere. But what makes you a chosen one is if you choose Him. I think Jesus also said, yo man, let's stop. Yes, we used to sacrifice lambs, the blood of the lamb. We used to sacrifice animals to show God that we love Him. But Jesus said, instead of sacrificing animals, sacrifice yourself as a noble sacrifice. Not this exclusive thing. You are the lamb. Jesus is the lamb. You are the lamb that needs to be sacrificed. Give up your life for Christ or for God. So whether you are living in Nigeria or China or USA or South Africa, you can be an Israelite. But you cannot be anywhere and be called an Israeli. So we conflate these things, being Jewish with being an Israeli, with being an Israelite. Very different things. So maybe just another reason, which I think is a flawed reason, not the conclusion. You're allowed to have your stance and support Israel, but your reasoning is flawed as a Christian. So hopefully, without us fighting and wanting to kill each other for religious beliefs, I think it's fair to say you cannot say the Bible is talking about the state of Israel. It's talking about the nation of Israel, which we all form a part of. Never turn your back on the people of God. Which is who? The ones that He chose. The Jewish people believe it's only them, but Christians believe it's them. But you can also be grafted into that body. Sorry, that was seems a bit churchy. But is it because of that? I think that would be a fair reason to say, hey, GAYTON is not cutting it for me anymore. But I believe that the DA is busy with a strong campaign. And I think the campaign against the PA for the first time is going to take more money. They're going to spend more money against the PA than they're going to be doing against the ANC. Because PA is taking their top people and the PA is taking a big chunk of their votes, and we're going to see it now in the local government elections. Because I think PA probably is more of a local government party than they are a national government party. I think they're going to take some mayorships, and I think they're going to definitely win more seats in almost every single municipality they find themselves in. And I think DA is aware of this problem. But people like Penuel, I'm very shocked, man, that they can't see through it. And I guess a lot of people haven't been on the other side of government. A lot of us are just on the side of being a voter and just fighting, and not seeing any other means to do stuff. It's like students are protesting again and burning stuff and protesting illegally. Like, guys, it will work once or twice. That's not the way to get what you want, Buffett. That is not the way. But anyway, let me know what you think. Have you also lost faith in GAYTON McKENZIE and his ability? Or are you loyal to the party or GAYTON McKENZIE? Or what do you think this new campaign is against them. I think it's a definite campaign. But where do you think it's coming from? I'm suspecting the DA. Later in the year, I think closer to the elections when the politics are ramping up, I want to do an episode where I want to give my view on how everyone should vote in the big metros. What I think the split should be, where I think Action SA should win, where I think DA should win, where I think ANC should win, where I think EFF should win, where I think PA should win. And I'll give my ideal percentages per party. But that's later in the year. But I'll love to hear what you think. Drop a like in the comments. And please subscribe. I'm about to hit 1,000 subscribers and make some coins on here. Anyway, this is the On the Country podcast with Emilio Tobias. Okay, bye. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the On the Country podcast.
Am I allowed to swear in here?
Let's swear, bro.
Yeah, I know we said let's not blame the government.
It's just sad when we start then becoming indoctrinated. Your view on me.